Deep in the heart of Texas, there's a team that can win the SEC in 2025. That same team located in Austin could also finish, I don't know, 6th, 7th in the SEC. This is going to be a wide open and wildly entertaining championship race. Who's the dominant team? Who's the clear-cut favorite? The odds makers think that it's Texas. I can see that. But as I'm about to get to, Texas has to reshuffle, has to reset a lot of different position groups. So there are two reasons that I look at Texas and say, yeah, they can sustain this going into next year. Reason number one, Steve Sarkisian has established himself as a high-level head coach in college football. He's guided the only program in the country to make each of the last two college football playoff semifinals. 4-team format, 12-team format, doesn't matter. Texas has been there. They got one conference championship in the Big 12, made the game this year, and of course, lost a thriller to Georgia, and probably got a little bit of help with that in terms of how their playoff seeding took place. So Texas is humming, and the head coach is a big reason why. So that's reason number one. Reason number two, Texas has recruited at an incredibly high level. Each of their last three classes, top six. Two of them have been in the top three. Their 2025 class, according to 24/7, ranks number one in the country. So the talent is there. And Texas clearly has a lot of belief in that talent. How many transfers do you think Texas has added this cycle? Where do you think their class ranks? Would you believe me if I told you the number is 4? That's not their ranking. That's how many players they've taken in the portal this year. This isn't a program that's been shy about it. This hasn't been Clemson under Dabo Swinney. This is a program that just last year brought in Andrew Makuba, stud on defense, Matthew Golden, Silas Bolden, and Isaiah Bond, all of whom are off to the NFL, by the way. Those guys were their three best wide receivers. They all came in via the portal, and those are just some of the guys. But they've added 4 guys. One of them's a punter. They grabbed a guy from Utah, a punter. Rarely seen, but a 3-star punter, according to 24/7 Sports transfer portal rankings. So, Texas believes right now in what they have waiting in the wings. Now, the last time that Texas was in this situation was this past year. I asked Sark about this at SEC Media Days, and I thought he gave a really good response and then backed up his answer on the field. Now, I don't think this Texas team was as good as last year's, but both were clearly very good as both reached the college football playoff semifinal. But I asked him how he felt that this was Texas's most talented team to date when you had lost a couple of really good wide receivers and a couple of stud defensive linemen. And he talked about guys that maybe are coming off an injury or are waiting to get their opportunity or are going to develop. And we saw that play out on the field this year in a number of different areas. So he has done a great job of building something that feels very sustainable. Now, Arch Manning is the biggest name at the center of all of this. He's going to be dealing with a lot of new people, a lot of new faces. But Texas dealt with a lot of new faces this year, and they found a way from the jump to be playing good football. Remember, they went into Michigan early in the season. How does that win look after the fact? Kind of closer to what it was at the time, but not quite. It's all potato and such. But they went into Ann Arbor and they blasted Michigan. That game was not close in the first half, and Michigan was never going to be able to come back. So Texas is going to be resetting at quarterback in all likelihood, barring a Carson Beck level shocking return to college football. Manning will be there, and I would watch for the name Ryan Wingo. Just keep that name in the back of your minds for, well, who's he throwing the football to? Might be a lot of Ryan Wingo. Might be a lot of Ryan Wingo. But no Isaiah Bond, no Matthew Golden, no Gunnar Helm, no Silas Bolden. I mean, those were the 4 best weapons Texas had this year, and Sark's going to have to develop the next batch. But he's shown he can do it once before. Last year's with the portal, might be more with high school guys this time. We'll just have to see. But Jahdae Barron, Andrew Makuba, gone. Kelvin Banks, gone. Those are just some of the guys, the most popular names, the best names perhaps from this Texas roster, but that's not all of the guys who are leaving. So there's going to be an outrageous amount of turnover here, and they're not reloading in the portal. Vegas likes them, though. Vegas likes them. Texas, along with Georgia, the two teams in the SEC championship game this year, preseason win totals right now are up, according to our friends at FanDuel, at 9.5. Now, for those of you who don't put too much stock into those, both teams that'll play in the national championship game on Monday had preseason win totals of 10.5. Ohio State and Notre Dame. Notre Dame, of course, went over. Michigan famously forced Ohio State to go under that total. And I imagine a lot of people felt good holding Ohio State over 10.5 tickets. But alas, here we are. So Texas is losing all of that. But I have a trust, based on the last 2 years, in the floor that Sark has established. The question will become, what's the ceiling? What does Arch bring? Can they be better than Quinn Ewers at quarterback? At times, that answer is no, but at times this season, that answer has been yes. There have been plenty of moments over the last couple of years where Texas fans have wanted to see more Arch Manning because, well, Quinn just doesn't have it right now. I mean, heck, Sark wanted to see Arch Manning in the first game with Georgia back in Austin. Quinn Ewers needed a break or wanted to try Arch. I mean, whatever it was, he came into the game. So that's the name that excites everyone, but I'm interested to see how the rest of the Texas team comes together. They have another good safety who is coming back for a final season, but I just look at this Texas team and say, I can see them winning the SEC. I can see them finishing middle of the pack because that's just a lot to turn. That's a lot of new. The advantage, though, in undergoing that, if you're a Longhorns fan, is there's a lot of new everywhere in the SEC. Ole Miss isn't going to have the same roster. Jackson Dart's going to the NFL. Alabama's going to be working in a new quarterback. South Carolina's probably a hot, trendy pick to finish top 2 or 3 in the SEC next year. What about Texas A&M with Marcel Reed coming back? I have plenty of optimism about what those teams can be, but I have plenty of questions as well. Just like I have questions about Texas, which is why I say they're in the mix. But I don't look at them as Vegas does right now in the national championship odds and say they should be the clear-cut favorite. So the odds go like this. Again, according to FanDuel, Texas to win the national championship is second only to Ohio State at plus 650. The next closest team is Alabama at plus 1,400. Tennessee is at plus 1,600. That's not a bad value bet, by the way, with Nico coming back. Ole Miss is at plus 2,000. Those are the 4 SEC teams currently inside the odds, the top 10 odds to win the national championship next year. Now, this can change throughout spring football. This guy gets hurt. That guy gets added. This guy, all that stuff can certainly move around, but that's where Vegas's tone and tenor is looking ahead to the 2025 season. And right outside the top 10, by the way, at 11th, 12th, and 14th in the national championship odds, respectively, LSU, Texas A&M, South Carolina. Florida also cracks the top 20, just one spot behind Miami and Mario Cristobal there. So I think this league has all the makings of a Big 12 rerun, which is great. I got no dog in the fight here. I just want entertaining football. This is going to be the most open the SEC has felt going into the year. Now, it was wide open this year. I think we could have a repeat of that, and it could be even more entertaining. You're going to have South Carolina throwing their hat into the mix. Maybe Missouri with a different quarterback situation can play a higher level of football. I'm just saying. I've seen crazier stuff transpire in the good old Southeastern Conference. So I am very excited. This is still probably the best conference in college football. But as I talked about on yesterday's show, I don't think it's a landslide by any stretch of the imagination. That doesn't mean it's not going to be fun. The Big 12, I never thought the Big 12 had a national championship team this year. The conference title race was still wildly entertaining, and the SEC will be again next year.